be able to see this shift like it feels like we saw it out of both Korean teams, right? We got it out of L5 too. Still, L5 swap, significantly more impressive. Like, beyond, like, it's so much more than MVP Black. I'm still not convinced we have seen, you know, that level from MVP Black that we expected out of the Korean region here, at least not yet.
Time for game 4, time for Sky Temple as we have a Roll20. It's their last chance here to stay alive in the mid-season brawl, Tetra.
They have banned out Dahaka, removing away some of that global potential and giving themselves the opportunity to, if they want to, play Abatha. Because the question is, will MVP Black ban it? And it is so strong on this map due to the global soak potential.
The Abatha is a tough one on because the Dahaka ban kind of alludes to, I want to be superior on that global pressure, so I want to be able to pick that up. But is it first pick worthy for Roll20? I'm going to say it is, but it's still risky on a map like Sky. They need to make sure they have very good skirmish with their other heroes, and Genji being removed, that's not ideal. Okay, they commit to the Uther, but that does give up a new Barak still. And again, we have to consider, where does the Abatha come in, if ever?
I think...
Hit me with it, Jay-How.
Outside of the Uther, I'm really curious if this might not just be the Tracer game we've been waiting for.
With Abatha or just in general?
You can work something in around this. This might be, I love this battleground for Tracer. She has so much terrain to work around, play with Fog of War infinitely. You have good, you can dive in, recall behind a wall. I mean, there's just so much you can play around with. And we have two of the best, the very best, with Kyocha being near the top, Glaurung not as dominant on Tracer, but we have two of the best Tracers in the world on opposing teams, and both teams like to play it. And I think that taking Genji away and the threat of Zeratul maybe not being there, I'm not sure if Roll20 wants to go back down the same route. Maybe they try and change it up.
If we see Roll20 pick it up, I feel like this would be the slot. I don't think that they can expect that it's going to go past this rotation through the ban phase on the side of MVP. So if so, the lack of snap picking Task Tracer makes me feel like they are going to avoid that route and go with something a bit more traditional.
One of the things that surprises me the most, how many drafts have you seen to where, and I researched this extensively, to where MVP Black doesn't prioritize if Malfurion is available, that they go in that route. MVP Black, if their second pick, generally always, I would say at least 75 to 80% of the time, picks a support that Maryday is going to be comfortable on, which is Malfurion and Kerosene being the backup option. I feel like MVP Black might have something up their sleeves.
They may.
Yeah.
Or they just want to deny the Li Ming from blowing up that cocoon 800 times a game.
Which did work very well last game. Roll20, not with the Task Tracer. Instead, they do still go with a double support, only it is the Ariel Valor this time. About as standard as we can get these days.
Yeah, we've seen this picked up like time and time again. It feels like this rotation, even the Uther, Vala, and the Ariel, when it's on a map where the macro play, the wave clear and the pressuring, like Tomb, like Dragonshire, I can totally see the justification. But on one that is solely focused on just skirmishing, like Battlefield of Eternity, which we saw how well eStar was able to execute with that. Now here with Roll20, a team that I feel like had a much more comfortable comp last game and couldn't execute, that this is a very big setback for them in the comp, like in the draft. It's not that it's a bad comp. We know it's good. It's just not their strength.
They're reaching. They are reaching and they are grasping for straws, I think, to change what they know. This is, before this weekend, this is just eStar in a nutshell, right? And now eStar's gone. We saw how well it worked for them, and it didn't, right? So now we have Roll20 in a composition that I don't think I've ever seen them run. Now trying to pull it out on Cursed Hollow of all places. I feel like Roll20 is trying to reinvent the wheel in the middle of a best of 5 with their tournament lives on the line.
I mean, you either do that or you go home by picking the same thing over and over again. I don't know. I can see it both ways, and that comes down to their personal opinion, ultimately, right? They either say we keep mixing things up until hopefully something actually lands, or we stick to the only things that we've practiced and what hasn't been working so well in this series, and we stick to it and just say, hope that our mechanics eventually, our teamwork and synergy will pay off.
Zeratul and Malfurion. But banning out the Stitches, the Malfurion would have been pressured, as would have the Li Ming, so they have put themselves in a position where they are now setting up for what could be VP into the Twilight Dream / all the damage from Li Ming. They've set themselves up a wombo with still space to work with.
Roll20 here, they're in a tough spot. I mean, obviously, we've got to have another damage dealer. We've got to have the warrior play right now.
Oh man, if this was a different map, I have a lot of different ideas of what Roll20 could do drastically to be able to change this draft around. But with the map included, without being able to get that early pressure, all I see is just a huge pickup here. The Illidan ban, I feel like, actually hurts them more than it helps them. A tankless composition would have made me actually more excited to see them play this game out. There's just this very offensive double melee style play with the backline Ariel with the double supporting.
Yeah.
And they commit with the Leo and the Tyrael.
I mean, the one thing about this comp overall, and doing this in a drafting phase, is that you telegraph exactly what all your intentions at the very beginning. So there's kind of not much to be able to mix
you're right.
up towards the end.
Yeah, the Holy Trinity essentially says, well, this is how we're going to play. Would you like to, try and counter?
I feel like if I'm sitting there and I'm MVP, I'm like, well, guys, we have last pick, and Falstat's still there against this composition. I'm going to dominate them globally. Yeah. And this game just got easier.
Kind of sounds like how
a lot easier for MVP Black.
One thing I really love to kind of point out, just for anybody trying to understand metas and why they exist and how they actually form, Falstat hasn't really been nerfed, but he's dropped so far down behind, and it just shows that he's now rising in power because people are realizing he's still really good.
Yeah.
But it's only when these things are removed. But when Falstat had very few counters, you find him sitting way at the top of the draft across the board. So it's so funny to see him. He vanished because everyone was like hyper aggression, and now that it's toning down, he finds himself back and still very, very impactful.
It's time for predictions.
I do like the Tyrael as one of the last picks from Roll20. It's one of the few things that I think can keep them alive against this and give them a chance in team fights / that wonderful throw pit. But the play from MVP Black in this series and their draft, in my opinion, it looks so much better. So I'm going with MVP Black.
I could sit here and talk for about 10 minutes about why I absolutely love MVP Black's draft, but they're on a roll. They have an amazing draft, and MVP Black has my vote.
I put out as much heart as I could in one series. That's it's over. MVP. I tried to believe in North America. I gave it everything I could, but this is the end.
You gave them everything. You threw my sign on the ground. I can't believe. But anyway, let's do what the chat thinks as well, as all our hashtags have been flying on in.
Wow.
And as games have gone on, as games have progressed, MVP Black has gained some traction with you guys over at home. I wonder why. Oh, well, that is going to be it. Game 4 now on the way here, and Roll20 has the do or die as they are on tournament life here against MVP Black.
The roller coaster of emotions from the series evident in the voting from chat throughout the series.
Yeah, MVP Black has been steadily gaining momentum, and that's bad news for anyone that might be facing them in the future of this tournament, as MVP Black looks favored to take this series. But for now, they still need to fight for it. Roll20 is not down and out yet. MVP Black here on the left, in the blue. Tist on the Nubarak, Reset on Li Ming, Kyocha on Zeratul, Meridale on Malfurion, and Sake on Falstad.
With tournament life on the line, putting all their hopes in a composition we haven't really seen them play before. The sole representative of North America left in this event, with Yoda playing Uther, Glaurung on Vala, Buds playing Ariel, Justine playing Tyrael, and Prismaticism playing Leoric. They are Roll20.
Now Roll20 has very strong map control. They have a 4-man that is almost impossible to beat early game, with Leoric being able to do some single or double lane pressure. We see it starting as a 3-man. Later it can transform into a 4-man if Leoric picks up Royal Focus, which I feel sometimes one talent is like, whatevs. This time I feel like it's absolutely key that he doesn't take fealty onto death once again at 4.
Yeah, I know you were wishing that we had seen that from Leoric of Roll20 on the Infernal Shrines game.
Definitely. You get that bonus swing. Wave clear now takes 4 seconds max instead of 7 or 8 seconds for Leoric, and that's huge. That allows you to mount up, go to the other lane, and do it all again. And that is the key for Roll20 here, because they have no lockdown. If MVP Black doesn't want to fight, they don't need to. They can blink away, barrel roll away, burrow charge away, and Malf just needs to stay the heck away. But MVP Black, they cannot get locked down by Roll20. They can only get outpushed. And so Roll20 needs to win the map. Let's see if they can do it. Temples are activating.
This will be a first start. Sake flying bottom to be able to hold on to that lane while Tist can go up for a potential pick around these temples. For now, we see Roll20 content to hold on to the top. They have their double support, so they will be team fighting later on, but feeling the heat maybe from MVP Black in the other game so far, wanting to make sure that Leoric can stay down there and counter Falstad.
Yeah. Speaking of feeling the heat, MVP Black made a genius move this series by allowing Diablo Medivh to come through, knowing that Roll20 is feeling the pressure. If they can beat that comp, if Roll20 overhypes themselves on it, then if they win that game, the mentality could be shattered. For now, First Blood narrowly escaping Roll20 as Zeratul blinks away. And Leoric, Prismaticism, he picks up Royal Focus. So Roll20 has a chance this game to control the map.
Grubby, I'm so excited that you pointed out that Roll20 in the last game, and we heard it from the analyst panel too, seemed to not have the execution for their composition. And that very well could have been because they lost with their signature flair, the Medivh and Diablo.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to imagine, right? Here you are, you get counterbanned the entire tournament after the biggest win of this entire tournament against MVP Black. Then you suddenly get it. It's like, oh my god, we got Diablo Medivh. We need to make this work because this is what everyone is afraid of. It's so easy to get overhyped if you do not have that that patience to say like, oh, you know, we can lose this and it's fine. We got plenty of other weapons. So that is such a strong statement by Black, and it shows that best of fives steep deeply in the tea of tournament mentality.
That plus the fact that it was on Infernal Shrines. Again, Roll20's favorite battleground, but they're holding their own here on Sky Temple with even more pressure on them now, knowing that one more loss will be their last.
Yeah, but you know, I think if anything, Roll20 has accepted that that they can lose here. I think this is going to be a little bit more liberal game mentally than the last two. The second game was hard because they're supposed to win with their amazing super cool combo, and the third game was hard because they lost with it. But I feel like at this point, you can play with a kind of reckless abandon. Here you have that strong four-man, the quasi triple support Vala composition. Everyone goes for a tap. Leoric is doing the double soak, and Roll20 is applying the pressure. So far, they're half a fort ahead, and they continue to attack in here.
No lingering apparition added on to Royal Focus, instead getting Ghastly Reach for the increased range.
Yeah, a little bit more likely to hit his swing on Li Ming and Falstad. I could definitely accept that. Lingering is cool, but it's not crucial for this map because the lane distance is so big that you're never lingering from lane 1 to 2 anyway. There's always a period of mounting up, and then you kind of you use your Royal Focus halfway. It kind of depends on the map architecture. If it's Blackheart's Bay, I would say get lingering, then you don't even need to mount up at all. But on this map, I think this is correct. Now,
I think it's cool that Roll20 gave up getting their bruisers. They had already taken out that top fort. They knew that there was going to be a global, that Sake could stay in that lane for a long time. So this way, they just didn't alleviate. They didn't give up any of the pressure that they had gotten here in the bottom lane.
Yeah, that's true. Bruiser wouldn't have done anything. I agree with that. But what Roll20 isn't getting is that Siege Camp quad bottom push value, and they're not getting the tempo. And I think this is actually a really big deal because they're supposed to do well in this stage of the game. Giving up that many shots is actually a really big deal in my opinion. They gave up about 55% of the shots to MVP Black, finally getting it back. And now they can push in. There's no more fountain with those final 5 shots. And XP has equalized, but with MVP Black having a global, Roll20 kind of needs to roll slightly ahead with XP. You can't really be equal too much.
Yeah, and MVP Black, again, showing their confidence in their abilities by pushing up lanes whenever they have the possibility of doing so. With Zeratul, with their 3-man, as soon as Roll20 leaves the bottom lane, they feel very confident in being able to dictate positioning of their opponents.
Yeah. And I think Roll20 needs one big fight where they win it, because basically Roll20 hasn't won a fight in 3 games straight. And so in order to get back mentally, they need to have a fight that looks amazing. Like Dreadnought said on the analyst panel, the execution wasn't quite there. The reason, we can only guess at it. Anyway, here's the fight. Glarung with the Divine Shield and Sanctification at the same time, overlapping Divinity on Vala, which means she's going to be dead in a few seconds, presumably.
Yoda kept her alive for a long time. Uther does eventually go down, and Glowring does not secure the kill on Kyocha. So far, Roll20 has lost their Uther. Uther Ghost around a little bit longer to give that heals. But with having still Ariel for a long time, Roll20 were able to continue engaging.
Well, that's actually really well done, Gilly, by Roll20. They lost Leoric, they lost Uther, but they come back and they have post-death effects. Roll20, they kept Vala alive, crucially. Crystal Aegis is still available, and the fight goes on. Roll20 slightly down in XP, will be equalizing soon. Key point is going to be if MVP Black can disrupt the Leoric double soak. They did so before with Zeratul to a degree, but everything you do on Heroes of the Storm, that's resources. If you fail the disruption, if you fail the kill, you've given up something somewhere else. So Roll20 needs to keep the pressure up to take away attention from Leoric. Leoric is taking the vision. 4 members are closing in on this position. Can Prismaticism do the ultimate bait here? Draw resources and waste the time of MVP Black? So far, it looks like yes.
Yeah, he Wraith walked away. Kyocha follows him into the fray. But Roll20 is starting their rotation. Tyrael's there. Prismaticism is going to fall.
That's okay for Roll20. If anyone is going to die, it might as well be Leoric. And Justin stays alive. In the meantime, temple shots for Roll20. Vanilla push with Vala as well, and that's the 4th down.
Grubby, what do you think of the decision to take Rain of Vengeance over Strafe? We know that Strafe is the favored heroic ability when you're comboing with Ariel because it gives her more hope, but in this case there's a double support available for Roll20.
Yeah, I think it's correct. You don't get as much energy even as Leoric falls again. If someone's gonna die, might as well be Leoric, yeah. But yeah, Rain of Vengeance for the counter engage and extra lockdown, which is very rare here. And the way that it pairs up with Entomb, it like perfectly fills up the wine bottle of the Entomb with a particular vintage of stun and damage. I do think that is correct here for Vala.
Well, Roll20 are behind MVP Black, but only a little bit. They're about to get 13, where they have a possibility of trying once again to win a team fight. And they're about half a fort away from being tied up. Actually, they still have their bottom fort, so they are winning the structure war.
Yeah, they're half a fort ahead, but they're down in XP. The fights have gone 4-0 takedowns in favor of MVP Black. And Roll20, I mean, this is the kind of map where you can do a lot with laser shots. So as long as you're controlling the map and you're getting takedown here and there, it doesn't matter how much push power your opponent have, because you can pretty much never just attack a keep. Like Roll20 have a push team, but this is about as far as they'll go, like peeling away the front layers. After that, it's all about temple shots. And they're making a big move here.
I am very scared by this big move.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 kinds of stasis. 4. Void Prison against Crystal Aegis, Sanctification, and Divine Shield. Can Roll20 survive through the Mighty Gust boss control? So far, it looks like no! The double deletion here on MVP Black side onto Roll20 in the Twilight Dream.
Oh my goodness, MVP Black, 1 by 1, just decimates Roll20. They're even going to get a full team wipe. Yoda's coming back.
Perfect isolation here by MVP Black, executing their draft to a T. Roll20 had similar tools last game as MVP Black now, but MVP Black shows how it's done. Leoric for another death here. He can't catch a break.
That was amazingly well done by MVP Black. The flank coming in, taking out Vala early on, getting Leoric, 2 Leoric kills throughout, and that blows this game wide open.
Yeah.
Whereas it was rather close with that boss call.
But now it's just the floodgates are open.
Yeah.
Roll20 is mopping the floor, but they have not been able to close the tap. And the water just keeps streaming in here. They're being overwhelmed by MVP Black. Falstad in the top. 4 members at the bottom. The boss, mercenary camps, waves push. 3-level lead. And the double temples activate. And Roll20 lacks position. They need to deal with 3 problems at the same time. They decide to ignore the elephant Falstad in the room. They let their keep die. They want to fight. Here they go. But they lack the lockdown. Bird charge out. Tyrael and Entomb is not enough against this kind of team. MVP Black looks like they solved the Roll20 equation.
Oh,
and Vala
goes down after Crystal Aegis too.
My word, wave of force just gets the kill.
And Twilight Dream will be used, not doing too much there, but MVP Black have already taken out Vala, which is the pivotal point for this composition. Prismaticism catches Kyocha. They've got Sanctification too.
Oh, beautiful Void Prison counter on the Sanctification. It does not get trapped in time. And a massacre here by MVP Black. Bada bing, bada boom, and only Tyrael is left. Justin tries to disengage from that situation. The map has been painted blue, and the artistry of that execution by MVP Black is looking to sell the crowd on this painting finally, and they say this is going to be a 3-1, 4-level lead. Boom! Vala down once again.
Nobody can stay alive for Roll20. MVP Black are all over the place this game, and that's a good thing. They're catching everybody. Justing, maybe the next to give resets. Prismaticism comes back to life, but he's surrounded by the wrong color teammates. Tyrael goes down. MVP Black have already taken out one keep, and they are quickly getting a second.
Yeah, the wrong color you said. That's exactly the way Roll20 feels about this mini-map right now, as they are down to their core. Down to the core, 5 levels down in the most devastating game so far. If game 1 wasn't enough, if game 2 wasn't enough, MVP Black now with the 16-0. Roll20 has taken core damage, 1%. With more soon to follow, presumably.
Yeah, 12 minutes and 30 seconds, and temple shots directly on the core.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. But, you know, miracles, probably not going to happen here, but that's what Roll20 needs, and they need a lot of them.
Twice in the series now, I think the other was on Infernal Shrines, Roll20 has been somewhat tied, but a little bit behind MVP Black, and has made a risky call. And a risky call that, if it worked, would get them back in the game, maybe even a little bit ahead. But MVP Black, their punishment is way too good for that.
Yeah.
And from that, both times, they have gone from being close to just completely dominating the game.
Exactly. And, you know, Roll20 is going to have a lot to learn from this series. They have shown amazing showing here for North America, showing moments of brilliance and moments of sometimes failing a little bit on this or that, but overall a fantastic tournament that does look like it's about to come to an end. MVP Black with the Void Prison, the isolation on Vala, Glaurung goes down with more soon to follow, the Aegis delaying the inevitable, and MVP Black, they kill 3 members, and they've got a core to crack here.
With 19 kills to 0, and for a second, a 5-level lead in Game 4. MVP Black take out Roll20 and move on through the lower bracket of the Mid-Season Brawl.
Waiting in the winner bracket for their match right up next is going to be Fnatic and Team Dignitas. And they look at this series and they see a potential challenger coming to one of those top spots in the tournament. If MVP Black wanted to have a realistic chance in the rest of the Mid-Season Brawl today and tomorrow, this needed to be a 3-1 at the very minimum here against North America's best challenger this tournament. The best challenger that North America has shown probably in 2 years. Roll20 has grown a lot, but this needed to be a 3-1 or better for MVP Black. They've done so, they've looked increasingly better, and now they have an argument to say we are challenging for those top spots, Gilly.
They needed that morale boost because the next opponent they play is L5. L5 versus MVP Black has been a storied battle between the two, and they will play later today, but you're right. Up next, we'll have Dignitas and Fnatic. But before that, let's break down the series with the analyst panel.
That's right, thank you guys. It is only Europe and Korea left now here for the Mid-Season Brawl as MVP Black. 3-1 is the score against Roll20. Commiserations to Roll20 for being knocked out, of course, but MVP Black in those last 3 games especially showed up and showed why they are still a world-class team.
Yep, after that first game, we were looking at it just like maybe the momentum has gone from this team, but they've come back. There's still fight in this team yet.
I'd say fight is an understatement at this point. I mean, they dominated from game 2 on. It wasn't even close.
It wasn't. It wasn't. And that's what I'm going to display, dude. It is MVP Black essentially in my replay just goes we're going to show you how to team fight. Like, just flat out mechanically outplaying them. And it starts with Roll20's worried about starting a fight, so they're going to bait a boss. But what you want to do in these type of compositions is never get it from left to right. Look for a flank. Sake comes from below, gets a bit of poke. Reset is going to drop a bit of poke as well over the wall. But this is where things really get out of hand. Immediately the damage onto Prismaticism. Void Prison. The only thing that can save this is a Sanctification, and Dream is going to deny it. That boss is started, and all 5 members of Roll20 are killed before it's even captured. They just flat out dominated it.
Impressive stuff. Impressive stuff. And that rounds things out. We are joined by Sake from MVP Black, as well as our Korean translator. So, gotta ask before we actually go into this, of course. Going up against Roll20, did you have fears going up against them after losing out that first map in the group stage?
그 경기에 대해서 자세하게 물어보기 전에 그 처음에 조별리그에서 롤20한테 한번 지고 나서 기분이 어땠나요?
별로 안 좋았어요.
Of course, we didn't feel very good.
Okay.
Yep.
Next.
In the second game, where you just sort of let them pick whatever they want, you let them get that Medivh Diablo comp that was so scary. What was the thought process in drafting against that and just being so confident with it?
이 경기에서 이제 메디브 디아블로를 이제 롤20한테 줬는데요. 그걸 하고 나서도 이제 그걸 카운터 칠 수 있다는 자신감이 어디서 나왔나요?
메디브 디아 말표 이렇게 3종 세트인데 이 3종 세트만 안 주고 한 2개 정도는 줘도 될 것 같더라고요. 그래서 그 3종 세트만 안 주는 선에서 그냥 줘도 된다라는 생각하고 뱀픽한 것 같아요.
So, in our opinion, for Roll20, Malfurion, Diablo, and Medivh are the 3 cores of that composition. And we thought that we could just give away 2 and still be okay with it. So, and we could deal with it. So that's why we gave up the Medivh and Diablo.
Interesting. For me, it's very apparent that you guys, with your victories here, have been gaining momentum. So just like, what do you guys feel like your power levels are now after that dominant performance against Roll20?
이제 점점 MVP 플렉이 점점 나아지는 모습을 보이고 있는데요. 이제 약간 실력이 한 어느 정도 올라온 것 같나요?
실력 그냥 저희가 지금 잘 못하고 있어서 어느 정도인지 잘 감도 못 잡겠어요.
I feel like we're not really doing very well, so I can't really judge how much of a power level we are at right now.
So you go up against L5 next, obviously, to see who goes through into the lower bracket final. You've played against them many times in the past. How do you anticipate it going into this match?
이제 다음 경기 L5랑 하는데요. 수없이 상대해본 L5지만 뭐 이제 경기 결과를 어떻게 예상하시나요?
엘바나 저희나 지금 이렇게 좋지 않은 모습 보여주고 있어서 아마 저희가 이기든 L5가 이기든 3대1 스코어 나올 것 같아요.
Both L5 and both MVP Black and L5 are doing really horribly this tournament, but whoever wins, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a 3-1.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Sake, and good luck in your future matches as we check in with the brackets now and see how things have gone on so far. Down towards the bottom side, we have L5 and MVP Black finding themselves a spot here to challenge for that lower bracket final. Meanwhile, we have our next series, which is coming up in just a few moments' time, and this will give us a glimpse into the weirdness that is the matchup of Dignitas against Fnatic, because we've seen how strong they have both been at this tournament, but for some reason, Fnatic on international stages, or on stages, do have a slight block here against Team Dignitas.
Can we take it a step further? Both times they played in the league, and when they played at Western, and when they played back as far as I can remember, all best of 5s. Nobody's winning 3-1, nobody's 3-0, and it's always 3-2. Always. I don't know what it is about this matchup. Always go to 5 games.
It's such a familiar matchup for both these teams at this point that they know each other inside out, and they start to get inside their own heads a little, and as well as inside each other's heads. it is such a fascinating series to watch because it starts off normal and then sometimes gets weird just due to how in their heads they are.
I would say for looking at Europe's success overall in this tournament, it is in Fnatic's best interest to win this series. I think if Fnatic loses this series, that momentum loss and that setback going to the losers bracket is enough that I think it may dampen their odds of winning this tournament. But if Dignitas goes down, I think their mental strength and tournament, they have the fortitude to actually be the team to go through the losers bracket and make it to the finals.
Well, thank you very much, gents. It's time for our winners final after this break. Tell everyone, spread the word, as Fnatic is going to go up against Dignitas here at the Mid-Season Brawl to find out who moves on to the grand finals.